Hello everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome to what should be an interesting analytical video. Actually, it's kind of funny. This seems to happen every PTR. I put up like a impressions of a hero rework, and then at least one of the videos, I get told I'm a total noob. And in this case, it is the Butcher rework. So as you can see, it's actually got a fair few dislikes on this particular video. And there's a couple of comments to take a look at, but most importantly, we're going to go into the game and we're going to break down the plays and see exactly what's going on. And this one's going to be pretty interactive, so I'm going to let you guys make your own judgments. In case you're curious, the reference for the original video, it's talking about basically what happens from about 1447 into the video to the end of the game. I think this comment down here, yeah, kind of sums up what I presume is the main criticism. There's another one criticism down here by a couple of people, so I'll talk about that before we dive into the actual gameplay and replay stuff and talk about how it's going to be interactive. But he says, LOL made a terrible play and blame the team for losing. Poor commentary, poor play. Thanks for the peek at the new Butcher at least. So yeah, I mean, like, poor commentary, poor play. Obviously, hopefully it wasn't poor commentary. I would say the play was probably not the best overall, but that's because, again, it's the first impressions and a live commentary, trying to get all the info for the new Butcher in, so I'd be surprised if my play was top class. It is meant to, as well, like, it is meant to be a peek at the new Butcher and to kind of explore some of his playstyles and stuff like that. It's not meant to be top level stuff. I hopefully, I mean to put that disclaimer at the start of all these P2R videos. I think I do, but anyway, yeah, just restating that in case you're expecting. I will probably come back and do like a better gameplay video of the Butcher soon. I have one for Alarak already done, actually, where I kind of played it without commentating to try get, you know, well, I think I was only level 4 on him at the time or something, but try to get a little bit of a higher level gameplay so we can see more of what's going on there. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be diving into this, the idea that I made a terrible play and then blame the team for losing. So basically what happens is I'm here, I come down bottom to soak a lane, kind of say give up the fort. The Punisher pushes in. I think Vala dies. I think Tracer's with her and dies. I make it back super late. The Punisher's like already, well, I think it dies on the keep, and then the enemy team pushes in, they go to core, they just wipe it out, and GG, we get killed. I fail at the end as well. So yeah, we're going to break down that play. Before we get to that though, these two guys also left a comment basically saying the same thing, that if I would have joined my teammates instead of solo pushing, you could have gotten more meat out of heroes. The quest shouldn't be your priority, and LOL, you suck, mate. Thanks, man. Unfortunately, fucking Ratface over here was unavailable for comment when I was making this video. He's been assigned as the diplomatic attache for, I don't know, like Israel or something. You know, they think he'll sort out all the issues in that region very peacefully and diplomatically. So that's fantastic. Sad to see he's gone. But same thing here from Albert. He basically played ganker like an XP farmer. Really bad, gotta say. I think this is actually really interesting. There's actually some stuff going on here in this particular thing. Make this full screen for a second so we don't get interrupted by notifications. But really interesting ideas, actually. They're not entirely wrong right here, which is why it's interesting. And it comes down to the different metas that are going on. So, for example, I mean, just the essential idea, like, is, you know, should I be ganking more as opposed to solo laning? I would say with the old Butcher, you probably, yes, almost definitely would. I actually disagree. I think with the new Butcher, though, he's got a lot of possibilities to be a very powerful solo laner or even dual laner. Like, I'm really excited to try him out on Blackheart's Bay in those top 2 lanes. As I showed you in this particular video, and with the build I was running in this video, ooh, it's kind of bugged out as he made it full screen. Huh, that's interesting. I mean, his wave clear is really good, and it's kind of ranged with grabbing those 2 talents at level 1 and 4, increasing the range of your hamstring flail thingy. I forget what hamstring stra. I don't know what it's called. God dang it! And then making it do more damage to minions. Like, he got pretty safe wave clear, and then obviously like and it's very effective as well, so being able to, like, effectively and pretty safely at a bit of a range, he functions very like Zul when you look at him. And then that Victual's talent at level 7 as well. In case you don't know what that is, I picked it up in this video. Whenever you kill a minion, you regain, or whenever a minion near you dies, I should say, you regain 4% of your maximum health. So I was kind of thinking he's very like Zul. You know, his hamstring becomes quite like Zul's scythe ability. Zul's Q. They're quite a lot in similar, actually, once you've got those 2 talents at level 1 and 4. And then the Victuals obviously functions very much like Zul's Skeletons. I mean, if you clear, there's 7 minions in a minion wave. At 4% of your max health, that's what, 20... 4 sevens. Oh my god, maths failed. 28%, right? You get 28% of your max HP back. Plus, the regen you're just naturally going to get. Let's say you're recovering about a third of your max HP per minion wave. So that's pretty cool. But like, I think obviously on Blackheart's Bay, and you're gathering the meat stacks for your quest, which is I do think it's actually a huge part of the butcher. But like, you can imagine, I'll say Blackheart's Bay with those two lanes close together, typically soaked by a single hero, going back and forth between them while the rest of your team deals with the map. He could be super effective at that, just keeping those locked down and under control, farming up double waves of his quest for like the early and part of the mid game, and then sort of mid to late game transitioning then into like this insanely powerful team fight melee assassin. Could be really cool, and I think he should be quite good at that. I'm excited. Obviously, Blackheart's Bay is not on the PTR. It's only Dragonshire, Infernal Shrines, and the new map Brax's Holdout. But yeah, I'm curious about that. So I do, where's the comments here? Yeah, I kind of disagree about doing the XP soak or like solo laning. I think he's actually probably going to be very good at that. Also interesting, the idea that like, would we have performed better as a ganker? And this is what I mean when I was saying different metas. So obviously the sort of meta I'd be playing in Hero League, like Grandmasters and Masters, is like... ganks aren't super effective, or like they happen a bit, but I mean, typically when you look at those games, the kill count is going to be much, much lower. People are pretty good, especially the Grandmasters, are like pretty good at map awareness. They know what's going on. They don't overextend too much. Like, you still get a few ganks off, but nowhere near as many. Whereas opposed to, in the lower leagues, I think probably the lower you go, I'm not exactly sure about this, but I would assume that the lower you go, the more kind of ganks happen, the more overextensions happen, and it's just, there tend to be much more bloodthirsty games. It's the same with the PTR, as you guys will see throughout all of these videos. They tend to be extremely bloodthirsty games. They're just chaos, and it's quick match as well, so they're all assassins. So there's actually an interesting thing going on here, that he's saying, like, I think there's a lot of uncertainty here. Like, would I have got more meat out of heroes? I actually don't know. All right, I don't know, because again, going into the PTR, you've got no idea what sort of quality games you're going to play. For example, one of the guys that's in a couple of the videos called Magic Turtle, he's actually like a 3.9k MMR player. He's like top 100. He's better than I am, and in fact should be noticeably better than I am over the course of a few games. But like, went up against that dude a whole bunch. Then I also went up against some people that were like totally face palming into like turrets and stuff, and I was like, well, this is weird. I actually checked it out, and a couple of people I was playing against were like 1k MMR. That's an almost 3k MMR difference between the people you're going up against and who's on your team. It's PTR. The matchmaking is all over the place because it's like a fresh server, and it's just crazy. So you don't know what you're expecting. So I don't know, maybe, and that's the thing, maybe they're right. Maybe I should have been ganking more as opposed to solo laning, and that would be a more effective use of my time, because of the PTR meta of like just this quick match chaos. Everyone's playing assassins, skill levels are all over the place. Maybe it would work better, I don't know, but I just think that's really interesting, and I would disagree, particularly the higher levels of play though. I think, solo laning, XP farming is incredibly important. The reason it is, obviously, is that, if people are quite good at noticing ganks and protecting against them, and like, if you go for a gank and it doesn't work, like, you get up there and they go, well, I know you're coming, and they just go and they stand like outside their gate or inside their gate or something, go, all right, cool, you're losing out a whole lot of opportunity, because while you go do that gank, basically you're losing out soak on the rest of the map, so you're falling behind in XP. They're pushing down your structures, taking objectives, taking mercamps, or like counter ganking or something. So you have to be careful when you gank, certainly at higher level play, so do bear that in mind. I thought it was interesting though. It certainly raises issues over stuff like a meta. Also, can I say, sounds like Moonfair. I quite like Moonfair's actually. I've watched some of his streams with MF Palitime, and they're pretty good. And I don't know, I think he's saying Moonfair is good. I don't know, maybe me. If he is, thank you very much, flattered. But blame my teammates. Certainly I do blame my teammates sometimes. I try to be positive about it as much as I can, at least like pointing out flaws and mistakes, which we'll get into now as you go into the analysis. But yeah, I mean, I try to not be nasty about it as much as I can. Sometimes I get a bit salty. And I also try to point out my own mistakes as well. And we will point out some of those as we get into this. But tell you what, guys, let's go into the actual replay. The idea of the terrible play and blaming the team, which is coming in from like 1447. Let's break it down and see what happens. Okay, so let's break down this replay. Let's go into it in depth. And let's see if it was a mistake on my part, or, well, several things happen in this. So were there things I did right, or were they all mistakes, or which pits are mistakes? And then was I blaming blaming my team incorrectly, or did they make mistakes, and what did they do right and correctly, and so on. I think there's some really interesting strategic things going on here. What I'm going to do is invite you guys to kind of interact with this a bit. I think it should be pretty interesting and pretty fun. Unlike the last time we did a video like this, which was my Zagara game, where kind of the calling me a noob was dispersed, I suppose, over a large portion of the game, like the first half of the game, essentially. This is condensed into just a few minutes, so I think we can really make the most of this. What I'm going to do is we'll go through this, first of all, from my perspective. I'm going to just show you the video of my perspective with my commentary removed, so just kind of get a clean impression of it. Go through that from the point I'm talking about until the end of the play, as it were. Then I'll show you the replay, and we'll go through it from the perspective of my teammates who are on the other side of the map, and then we'll see that. And I want you guys to just going through it just to be like looking for, okay, is he correct to go here? Again, with no commentary or input from me, just make your own judgment on what's going on. You know, spot what mistakes you can, spot what good plays you can, and what's going on and the timings of things and so on. Then what I'll do is I'll go through then just an overall replay of the thing, kind of going back and forth between the two, pausing it and pointing out my thoughts. I will, for the most part, just to let you know, to be fair here, I'll for the most part be sticking with my initial thing. In case you don't know what my initial thing was, I was saying that basically I go down to this bottom lane to farm these stacks up to finish my quest for the butcher, thinking I'll get back on time and I'll be completely safe. I do still stick by that. I think it's correct. I'll explain why. But I do make some misplays as well that I noticed when I watched it back. So I want to talk about those two and just generally speaking, break down the idea of the timings and what's going on here. And I also stick by the idea that my teammates misplayed it, more so than me, in fact, and we'll talk about why as well. But that's kind of the thing I'll be going for. You guys can go for a different thing if you want. I'd actually invite you to like maybe even write like half a comment saying like your initial thoughts on it first. Or I mean, you could just post that if you like. And then like after I go through it, you know, kind of comment back and say, or even just do it for yourselves and say, okay, how did my analysis differ from Nubkeks and so on. And that could be kind of cool as well, because obviously I'm doing a lot of replay analysis on the channel. So it might give you like an insight into it. Like maybe I'll notice things you don't, or maybe you'll notice things I don't, and we could both have a bit of a learning experience from it. Hopefully it will be very interesting. But anyway, that's enough of an introduction. Tell you what, I'm going to play this first of all from my perspective, and then from the team's perspective, and then I'll come back to you and kind of give my thoughts on it, and we'll see how they differ from yours.
Our enemy has summoned an arcane punisher. We have cleansed these heavens of the demon's punisher. Our core is under attack.
Alright guys, and here we are going to take a look at our team's perspective. In the replay client, I can do this, I can zoom out, which will give us, I think, hopefully a better overview. I don't know if this starts exactly, I can't remember now, because again, I'm kind of chopping different recordings and putting them together to make this video. I can't remember if this is exactly the point where we started off with the play from my game itself, but I think it's roughly accurate, and I also think this is a good cutoff point. In case you can see what's happened is that there was a big fight over the shrine. I think Gazlo died first, then Arthas. I think myself and Tracer had died earlier. But yeah, they just had a big fight over the shrine and lost. The enemy team, as 5 people, is there. You can see Greymane's actually in really low health, so that's worth noting. But yeah, they're there. They're obviously going to grab this shrine. Vala is the only one left alive, and she's just retreated behind this gate at low health, but she is now, at this point, completely safe. So I think this is a good place to start it off. So, again, reminder just to, yeah, go through it. Let me know, just watch out for any mistakes or good plays, or just timings as well. You can keep an eye on what I'm doing on the minimap, and see whatever mistakes or good plays or timings I'm going with. And yeah, we'll take it up then after that with my thoughts. So this is your turn to analyze and see what is going on. All right, we can pause it at this point. Obviously, the core is just going to die at this stage. There you go. We're going to go through this again, and I'm going to give my thoughts on what was going on. So take this opportunity to pause the video if you like, and to go over what, maybe even replay it through if you want, and to see what you thought about the plays or misplays of what was happening. And yeah, cool. Let's get back to it. All right, and here we are back where I think pretty much bang on where we started, actually. And okay, let's go through this. So here are my thoughts and my analysis of what's going on. Again, I will be sort of pausing and maybe even rewinding certain parts. I don't know. We'll see as we go through. But anyway, just giving an overview of the scene again at the moment. So we can see over here. I hadn't noticed this, actually. So this is something to point out. I had not noticed that Greymane was on low health. And also bear in mind, they have no healer. That's actually quite important. So obviously my presumption was at this point that the enemy team would be pushing in as 5. However, as you can see, I mean, they have got no healing fountains nearby. Or bottom line, it's not really that nearby. They've got one down here. In fact, this one is gone, as is this one. But they still have one. So I think Greymane obviously does reappear, as we saw during the clip, kind of later, around this point, when the Punisher's somewhere near here. So I imagine that he ran back, tapped that, and then came back to join with his team. Not entirely sure. I mean, we could check it out, but it's not important. And it's not something we would have had access to information-wise during the game, either way. Which I could have noticed this. A bit of a vision glitch, to be honest. Obviously we shouldn't see this. I presume we saw this in the live game. I don't know. I don't think my camera was on it, but anyway, you should have seen it. But yeah, okay, so the main sort of theme of my analysis here, which affects, I think, not only Vala's play, but also my play, in a bad way hers, and which I'm sure you're going to be horrified I'm thinking this, so biased, you probably saw it coming, but yeah, I think affects her gameplay in a bad way, and sort of justifies mine somewhat. We have to look at sort of the realistic options that we're facing here in terms of what we can do. So again, to paint the scene, we've got 5 enemy heroes, they're all here on the shrine, they're just like gonna get the shrine pretty much immediately. Vala is here, she has like apparently 4,000 out of thing. Okay, the replay client spoke out. She obviously does not have 4,500 health out of 4,500. If we play it a little bit, okay, if we play it a little bit, there we go. She has 900 health remaining out of 2,600. So she is sitting here. As you can see, she doesn't have any heroic cooldown either. Doesn't matter too much, but worth noting at least. Ooh, look, ooh. I didn't know you could do that. Hey, look at all the skill shots. Cool, cool, cool. That's interesting that the arrow and the vault are the same width. It's important things, right? Important things. But yeah, okay, so she's on super low life. Is she going to be able to go and do anything against these heroes? No. If she goes, she'll just be killed. Is she going to be able to defend the front wall or the fort? The answer here is, again, no. The enemy team is far too healthy. There's 5 of them. There's 1 of her. It is kind of relatively late into the game. They're level 18. You can see I'm dead, but I'm going to be respawning soon. Tracer soon-ish. Again, you can see we've got like this big like dick trickle, as I like to say, going on here with like this staggered deaths. You know, 7 seconds, 15, 36, 51. That's really bad. And in fact, you're going to see like it really contributes to losing the game as well. But yeah, what should Vala do in this situation? She shouldn't go in here. She's just going to die. I mean, she shouldn't go push, like, she can't do anything top lane. She can't do mercs. She, potentially could run down bot lane and clear it, but it's not too important for her. We're too far off level 20 to get there with XP. What she should do at this point, right now, she's got behind the wall. She is safe. She should Hearthstone right now. There's absolutely nothing for her to do. We're just waiting for them to finish the Punisher. There's nothing else for her to do on the map. She could maybe come clear, maybe come clear bottom lane and then Hearthstone. But it is a little bit risky. It could take some time. Better to just Hearthstone now and then come back. So I tell you what, let's play the game. But yeah, right now she should be Hearthstoning. There's no way she can defend. There's no way we can defend this with this many heroes down. 5 against 1 or 5 against 2. And there you go. Again, as you can see, she is not Hearthstoning at all. Is she going to be able to defend this? Nope, she's going to mount up. And gonna run back. So yeah, okay, here we go. As you can see, this is where I'm coming in, and I'm just making a beeline for this bottom lane. So you can see I'm saying give up the fort. I think this was a foregone conclusion. We're hoping, obviously, to defend the keep. I think we should expect to defend the keep. And certainly the core. There's no reason for us to lose at this stage. Equal levels. Although it is late in the game, this Punisher isn't too strong, and it should take some damage at least coming through this wall, and then coming through the keep in the tower, and then this thing. We've got a lot of structural advantage, so we should be pretty safe. Again, the point of having forts late game, they give you a bit of map control, but they can be destroyed fairly easily. The main thing they do late game, and the main effect they have, is that like let's say that we were in a similar position where it was 5 of us alive, and then like only one of the enemy team still alive, and then a couple kind of the rest of them sort of respawning on these staggered death timers. I mean, we could potentially push the core, especially on both of these lanes. We're going right to the keep. We can just destroy the keep and get onto the core very quickly. The enemy team, luckily, we've been winning this game actually up till this point. We still actually have the front walls even for all of our structures. This gives us a massive structural advantage. It takes time to bust through all of these structures. You know, the DPS you have to put out, it takes time. And that's the advantage it's getting us, is that, yeah, we had a terrible team fight. We got pretty much wiped out, and it's 5 of the enemy pushing in with a Punisher. But luckily, we've got all these structures, so that will slow them down and should give us plenty of time to sort of recoup and come back. At this point, I was kind of assuming that Vala would Hearthstone. In fact, I probably was being too nice in game in a sense, that she should have Hearthstoned at pretty much the second she came through this gate, which I was sort of assuming that she would. We'll have a tab over to me actually. Just hit play for a second. I've got 407 attack damage because that is somewhat important. Obviously assuming she would go back. I'm kind of looking at this going, okay, Tracer's just respawned. It's myself, it's a Vala who needs to Hearthstone, a Butcher and a Tracer. Are we going to be able to defend a fort plus these walls against what I presumed was 5 enemy team members? As you can see, I think Nova is here in stealth, and I do think that Greymane went back to tap the well and will come back, but at the time I thought he was here. I didn't realize that, so mistake on my part. But yeah, are we going to be able to defend against these 5? The answer is no. If we try to defend against them, we are just going to be... They'll just dive us and they'll kill us. The Punisher will obviously do his jump and his stun. They can follow it up. I mean, they've got an Illidan, they've got a Butcher, Nova, Artanis, Greymane. Like, they have so much dive potential, and like they've got the crowd control with the suppression pull. And the Nova, it's going to be horrific. There's no way we defend this, even as 3. We need pretty much at least Gazlo. We could make a defense 4v5 with defender's advantage. It would be difficult, obviously, against the Punisher, but should be okay. But I'm thinking, all right, this is going to buy us some time. It's going to take them time to bust through all of this. This is time for me. I'm looking at bottom lane. You see there's a big wave here. So it's a nice little bit of experience. But most importantly, I was looking to finish my quest. I need 125 stacks of fresh meat. When I finish that quest, well, I'll get obviously 13 more basic attack damage just from finishing the quest from the stacks themselves. And then by virtue of getting the reward of the quest, I get an additional 100 attack damage plus 25 attack speed. So I'm looking at this saying, okay, I think this is a worthwhile investment of my time in order to do this. And I was kind of assuming I'd have time to get down here, grab this meat, and then make it back if I really needed meat. But I was assuming we would be fine to defend at this keep when we get there. Anyway, I'm saying give up the fort. I believe we do give up the fort, so that's good. Here we go. So you can see him going down here. Vala is warning me of danger. She's in more danger herself. Actually, this is interesting. So Tracer actually goes forwards and baits the Punisher over the wall. I don't know if this was intentional or a mistake. I think this was Nova, by the way. In fact, we can check. I'm pretty sure she has... Yeah, this was her using covert mission. Pretty sure. Up there to grab the bruiser camp. So that's actually a pretty clever move on her part. She's not adding much PvE DPS, but she is biting some... It's just getting additional map pressure, which is pretty fantastic for them. I mean, it won't do too much. He's just going to die up here, but still, it also denies it from us. And again, we should sort of assume at this stage that the game is far from over. Anyway, Tracer baits the Punisher. So this is I was not expecting. I was expecting them to stay back here at the keep. So this is actually kind of a good move. She's baiting it past the fort. So it will start taking damage from the walls, and then they could potentially, because they're ranged, they can potentially GPS it, and then maybe even bait it over. I don't think it was intentional. Maybe it was to bait her and do this. In theory, if, again, like I have to assume, maybe, like, you couldn't know that Nova went up to grab this. I mean, that's a fairly big leap. For all we know, Nova could have been here. And I mean, they've got the Butcher, they got Illidan. Greymane could, in theory, have been in the Fog of War as well. It's a pretty risky move to go forwards and bait it like that. You could have gotten killed and taken a lot of damage. Tracer can obviously dodge it with Recall or the dash, and this is why I'm assuming she didn't think about it too much, because she didn't do that. Maybe she just misplayed it slightly. It doesn't matter. It's actually quite a nice move overall. Kind of baiting it past them. They're obviously going to slow down and try to beast this fort down while they've got the minions here. They don't want to get caught between two forts and then get kind of counter killed, and we can just push to win. So bear that in mind. But here we go. And our allies escape safely behind the wall. So this is the point now. And in fact, this is the first point in the game where I could have actually done something effectively in the defense. And as you can see, I've pretty much just arrived here, checking down here, but I've pretty much arrived at the wave right here. So I'm up until this point, I would say I'm actually kind of, for the most part, doing the right thing. Let's say it takes about 12 seconds to Hearthstone and run over here. Maybe 10 seconds? I don't know. But I could get back here. But at this point, I think it's still probably worthwhile. But as you can see, they are actually beasting through this thing pretty quickly. They've got a fully stacked Butcher plus an Illidan. So there you go. As you can see, our teammates have actually got this down to half health themselves. Well, themselves plus the towers. Plus the fort, obviously, adding on the front wall, adding a little bit of damage as it went through as well. But as you see, they've got us to half health just by themselves. Gazlo is respawning right now. And I'm on the stack. You can see this sort of stacking up as we go as well. There you go. So she does get poked by the Greymane. Nothing she can do about that. Takes some damage running through this. Assumes she's safe. Vaults away. You can see at this point, actually, Tracer baits this over again. She did fail to dodge it again. But again, that's somewhat understandable because that's a pretty difficult thing to do. It requires you to know that you can. And it also requires pretty good reflexes. I'm sure I would mess it up too, to be honest with you. Anyway, Gazlo's coming in here too. I mean, we still have the gate on the walls up. So they can't get through yet. This thing is very close to dead. So this should die pretty safely. And we'd be okay. However, at this point, I make a misplay. I could make the excuse that I was distracted by Vala kind of pinging me. I would say incorrectly. Because I still believe this is the right play. But just before we unpause and go forwards here. What I should say is that at this point, I should have made it #1 priority. Again, I was assuming that we'd be fine. Obviously, as you can see, low health on Vala, having only 900 hit points or something, it's really screwed her over. Obviously, taking that poke damage, she would have been completely fine at that point. So she's taken, let's just unpause and repause. So there you go, like out of 2,000, she would have been coming, if she'd Hearthstoned back here, she would have been here for this Punisher defense with 2,600 hit points as opposed to, I presume she had about 1,100 when we started. So after losing 1,000 hit points, roughly speaking, she would have been on still 1,600, more than 50% HP. She would have been in a fine position to keep this defense going right here, and it would have been okay. But yeah, what I should have done, just to cover that as well before we forget, is I, at this point, 100% should have just made it #1 priority. Okay, finish the quest. The second I finish the quest, step back just to make sure no minions interrupt me, Hearthstone, and just get back here, just to be 100% safe. Again, I was assuming we'd be safer than we were, and part of that miscalculation was that assuming Vala would be fine, because she should have had full health and she didn't, so that was a mistake on my part. And then also, I obviously didn't calculate for the fact that they would bait the Punisher forwards. I'm not sure if that worked out in our favor, and I think it did work out in our favor, actually. So I'm not sure if that makes a better case for me or a worse case for me. I think it makes a worse case for me because they actually dealt with it more safely. If they'd been doing as I assumed and just, the Punisher had stayed on the fort and then met them at the keep, I think it would have been healthier. This would have been a more dangerous push. So yeah, do bear that in mind too. Anyway, as we can see here, I find this very amusing in the replay. But Vala is so busy giving out to me that she got sniped by the Artanis. I chuckle very much when I watch the replay, an evil chuckle. But I mean, I don't blame her too much for this. I think it was fair to assume that she was safe. As you can see, by the way, we jumped from like 400 attack damage to 500. We're doing 25% more damage per hit, and we've got 25 more attack speed. Percent more attack speed. So I don't know, someone could do the maths and let me know what a 25% plus a 25% bonus is, but it's a lot of bonus either way. Yeah, I mean, I think it is worthwhile to finish that quest and come back here. You can see, what happened to Tracer? Has she recalled? I presume she's recalled because I can't see her. Yeah, okay, I think that's a recall graphic right there. But yeah, Vala does get sniped. Again, I can kind of understand it. Artanis sniping you with Suppression Pulse doesn't happen very often. She was pretty close to being out of it as well. It was a good guess by him. But yeah, I mean, she shouldn't have been in low health and died in the first place. But that was kind of unfortunate for her. But I just had a chuckle that it happened because she was looking at me and giving out to me. Ha ha ha. Anyway, I should have been Hearthstoning, and I wasn't getting distracted in-game by her giving out to me as well. Anyway, there's Tracer actually. Yeah, she's tapped her well. And here we go. This Punisher's actually lasted longer than I thought. The Gazlo turrets have come down though, and it is going to fall. Okay, so there we go. Anyway, so Arthas is about to respawn now. I am making a huge misplay. A huge misplay. I should have Hearthstoned and then been here to push through with the Arthas and defend. Yeah, just like this. And again, this is a pretty tough situation right now because I'm not here. Arthas is yet to respawn and Vala has just died. This actually becomes pretty bad. Nice move by the Butcher, actually. Manages to pick up the Gazlo, unfortunately. I wonder... Oh, okay, he had his root on cooldown. Okay, I was wondering if he could have maybe saved him. I think it was on cooldown. He couldn't save the Gazlo. That was a nice move by the Butcher. And as you see, they just beast through this. I was definitely underestimating. Again, not used to the quick match speed of like how much damage you can do with a Butcher, Illidan, Greymane. It's kind of crazy. So that was a miscalculation on my part. I am back here right now. But I mean, I should have been back here sooner. And definitely underestimating how quickly you can burn through it. But yeah, here we go. Anyway, worth saying as well, going through this, I completely misplay this whole thing. I just get completely wrecked by Greymane. Our teammates are getting fairly stomped over here. This is now a really bad position with 2 people dead. In fact, now with Arthas dead as well. But yeah, I mean, as you saw, I was just getting wrecked. Kind of panicked, missed my thing, and yeah, they just completely crushed me, honestly. I mean, we came close to killing Greymane, but close doesn't really matter. It's either you kill them or you don't, and we get wiped out. So, yeah, there you go, and then the core dies. But, I mean, to summarize the idea of what's going on, I think the core thing is kind of looking at this and going, you know, okay, what can we achieve here? What is achievable considering how many heroes we have, how many heroes they have, the objectives that are up, and the structures that are there. And I think the core thing to notice here was that, you know, as soon as we lost that fight and they were here, there's no way of fighting them at any point. Judging from the death timers, judging from their health bars, our health bars, who is still alive, there's no way we're saving this fort. This whole area right here is just given up for dead. There's no point in even being here. Just leave it, go away, and try to achieve something else on the map. It's not until they get to here that we can maybe put up a fight. So I think, roughly speaking, my timing wasn't perfect. I definitely or underestimated how quickly they would push through. And overestimated how quickly I could do this. As you saw, I wasn't too far off. I mean, we kind of cleared this out by the time that the Punisher was over here. It looked like the Punisher should die. Again, huge misplay from Vala, not heartstoning, and then coming into this with full health. If she had done so, instead of blaming me and just sitting on her arse, I'm getting real salty, I don't care. But like, we would have had a much better chance of defending. If that had happened, I mean, I honestly think, like, and this is why I'm saying it's kind of justified to blame the teammates, because I honestly think if she had done that, we would have been okay. Then, obviously, 100% hands up in the air, gotta admit it, caught red-handed, huge misplay from me. Watching it back, I'm just like face-palming going, that was really dumb. Why would I even run back here? I just ran back. Obviously, I was kind of expecting I might be able to get off a flank, that the fight would go better. Should have realized and recognized that it wasn't going to do so, and should have just come forwards with the team and just kind of scared them off, or fought a more consistent fight. So huge misplay for me. By the time Arthas was getting in, I wasn't even there, and our teammates were dead before I got there. So definitely got to admit that I 100% should have done that. So that's a misplay. I don't think, though, coming down here, again, as we saw, like, huge bonus to our damage from coming down here and grabbing that wave. And I think by the time I'd grabbed it, we weren't in too tough of a position, really, honestly. At least nothing that was within my control, or at least we were in a little bit of a tough position because of Val's health bar, but shouldn't have expected that to be the case. Again, I think it was a pretty reasonable expectation, and I hope I've highlighted this, that the defense should have gone much better than it actually did. And yeah, I mean, like, for example, if she hadn't lost health and then died, like, that Punisher would have been dead before the enemies came through. Gaza would have been able to push forward and sort of fortify the position a bit better, and they would have had a much tougher time diving it. As it was, the Punisher kind of was just on the last, what was it, 10% HP or something as they pushed through, and that let them get a really nice position, and then they just kind of walked over us. And then by that point, I should have been there too. So there you go. I thought it was kind of interesting to break that down, but I mean, I think, again, hopefully it does just highlight that, you know, don't be thinking, like, I think it was pretty good that I said don't fight at the fort. But I mean, just highlighting that, just like say, okay, at what point, when can we fight this? Where's our goal to fight this? The goal is to fight it at the keep. Okay, we've got time until they get to the keep. Let's make something happen on the map before we get there. We could have taken a Merc camp or something. A bit difficult on Infernal Shrines, you're somewhat vulnerable actually. But like, just look at the different maps and look at like, okay, what can we do? How can we make the best use of our time before they get here? You know, don't just sit over there and be like, all right, we'll just wait for them. Sometimes, though, that is the ideal thing. It's just, you know, sit by your fort or your keep and wait. Usually, you know, when your allies are dead and a lot of the enemy team are alive late game, you kind of have to do something very safe. I think coming down here was very safe. On the whole, there's also the possibility that I would have drawn some of them away to try to gank me, and that would have worked out really well, actually, because I would have been able to escape with the Hearthstone before they got there. They would have wasted their time traveling over. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think, and looking into this as we go. I didn't really concentrate on the Tracer, Gazlo, or Arthas much. I don't really mind exactly what happened. It was a pretty shitty situation by that time. But yeah, I mean, so I don't really care exactly what they did or what happened, but I just want to highlight the misplay by Vala over here. Again, not making use of the time, not going, okay, there's nothing for me to do. I'm just going to be sitting on my arse on my mount for the next, whatever, 20, 30 seconds. I should use this time to Hearthstone and come back with full health. And then the idea that I'm saying, okay, we've got time while they bust through all of this to come down and grab this stuff. I think obviously with the different team comp, with the support, like a low damage support, and I suppose Artanis kind of counts as the warrior. But I mean, we just have two especially heroes that absolutely beast through fortifications, and I should have taken more note of that. But against a more normal team comp, it would take them that amount of time to get through, and we would have been fine. It just so happens that they had a very high PvE damage team with insane dive, and that really punished us. So, you know, my fault for not realizing that. But there you go. I hope it's interesting. Give it a like if you like this video, and let me know if you want to see more like this. I thought it was a pretty interesting learning opportunity, much like the Zagara video we had from the PTR before, because, again, it seems like a lot of anger was directed at me for making this play. A lot of people think it was really terrible, and certainly there were aspects of it that were terrible, but I think looking back on it overall, I think there's... Perhaps you might still disagree and say that, okay, it wasn't worth coming down here and doing this. I think it was. And I think it was just a small miscalculation based on, you know, just the capacities of this team. That's somewhat reasonable. Maybe you don't think it's reasonable. I don't really mind. The main thing is just highlight the theory of, okay, making something safe with big benefit, which was the payoff of my butcher quest, happen on the map while we have, in theory, time, or any sort of play kind of like that. And then also kind of just highlighting why, you know, I was, quote unquote, blaming my teammates. I suppose I was blaming. Hopefully I mean blaming in a good way, not a bad way. But again, hopefully I sort of highlighted how that was somewhat justified by the mistakes that Vala was making, in not going back. And like I said in the video, it should have been a safe defense. It should have been fine. It wasn't. But I don't think that that was my fault particularly, at least up until the point where I finished the quest, and at that point should have Hearthstoned. There you go. I think that sums up everything I wanted to say. I'll obviously discuss it with you guys in the comments if there is more to say. See you all next time for more Here's the Storm. Bye bye.